My name is Andrea Celda. I'm from Travesía 4 Gallery team. I'm the coordinator of Bajo el Sol project along with my colleague Claudia Llanza, who's here with us as well. Thank you so much for joining us in this fourth episode of Bajo el Sol, which we are very fortunate to present in collaboration with South platform that have made possible to have this conversation open and live today. We're very happy to have Fernanda Brenner and Yuli Yamagata with us. Bajo el Sol is a series of film conversation and a communication platform conceived by Travesía 4 last summer. It is dedicated to the dissemination of voices that analyze and transform today's world and who pose or claim alternative social, intellectual, artistic, and technological models from the context of the Global South. In the past 3 episodes, we have enjoyed the participation of curators, dancers, artists, and a mathematician who have discussed issues such as the importance of living and learning community, representation, the need of rethinking the role of institutions in relation to their context. And in order to accompany this online project, we conceived a program of physical exhibitions, which started with the current show that we have at our Madrid gallery, which is on view until July 13th, and that Yuli is part of it, along with the work of other artists such as Mashbel Alexandre, Namat Sabar, Mateo Lopez, Mariela Scafati, Basira Khan, and Cosima Sunipausen. So Yuli Yamagata is a multidisciplinary artist who lives and works in São Paulo. She is currently, as I just mentioned, part of this exhibition in Madrid, and her works move on the border between dream and reality, inspired by mass culture, and it pushes the viewer to abandon themselves to the possibilities of her oniric imagination, generating characters and images that remain reverberating in our heads and invite us to reflect on consumption and our relationship with the materials and objects that surround us. Fernanda Brenner is a writer and curator based between Belgium and Brazil and France. Director and founder of Pivot Arte Pesquisa. She works as a Latin American art advisor for Kadist Art Foundation and is part of the curatorial team at Nesr Art Foundation. Since 2017, she has been a contributing editor for Frieze Magazine. In the past years, Yuli and Fernanda have collaborated on several locations, such as a group exhibition Rocambole in Pivot, that subsequently traveled to Canstale, Lisbon. And well, welcome Yuli and Fernanda. Thank you so much for accepting our invitation. And thanks again all for being here and South platform for hosting this session. I hope you enjoy the conversation, which perhaps could start in English and we can see how it evolves.
All right.
As you both speak Portuguese, and you should feel as free as possible. So thank you so much, and I hope
Thank
you
you.
Thank you, Andrea.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you guys.
Well, so shall we start, Yuli? First, I'd like to thank the invitation, which is always like from a South and Travessia, to this amazing opportunity to do live what I've been doing privately for quite a few years since we met Yuli. So the idea is that we have here a very informal conversation around Yuli's practice and also the underscoring themes that she's been dealing with in the past, almost 7, 8 years, I would say, since you've been working professionally. And also we think take advantage of this opportunity to talk a little bit about what's going on in the art scene in Brazil, or more widely in South America. It's a very delicate moment in the country, in Brazil especially. So to start the conversation, I would like to share an anecdote, which is why when we met, me and Yuli, Yuli worked with us in Pivot as an assistant for another artist, Tonico Lemos Awad. So she got in touch with the institution, and then later on, she never left, I would say. This was 2015. And then she applied for the residency program that she got in contact while working with Tonico. And I remember what caught my attention on her application for the residency is that because we always have, we ask the artist for a list of books that are like reference books or things that are important. And we always have an internal joke that we can map a certain taste or common interest by a generation of artists by the books that they quote there. And Yuli stand out, I would say, in the crowd of applications because she pointed out as a major reference the film Toy Story. And and I say, whoever has the boldness of quoting that instead of Rosalind Krauss, or together with Rosalind Krauss, which was her case, is somebody that I was willing to meet. So she got approved in the residency, and I remember that she came in with a lot of trauma, thinking that she needed to be a conceptual artist, that her work was not political enough, that she had an idea of what working with art was something very far from what she was doing, which was pretty much sewing very weird objects like sneakers for dogs and weird patterns of pillows that she found in cheap secondhand stores. And she thought that she would have to get rid of that in order to be a serious artist. So Yuli, maybe you can share what happened and how you insisted in these stuffed oddities that you've been doing for the past years. So that's my intro.
Thanks for this amazing intro. But yeah, I don't know. I did a very traditional school called USP that comes with very, I don't know, traditional pillars as like being political or talking about form, like be like, let's say, pop artist was not very good compliments there. So actually, when I
pop art was a curse word, no, in the school.
Yes, exactly. Exactly that. And for me, it was like a little bit a struggle because I applied to this college because I want to be actually how you call that, writer, comics writer. Like I wanted to do comics and more like manga, that is Japanese comics. And I was doing this kind of stuff during the college, and I got like very traumatized to don't feel like I fit in any of the box that they started to present me. So I started to looking for, I don't know, let's call my own box. Then I started to asking to be an assistant to artists that I like the works. And then with that, I started to apply also to another residence to see what is out of the college, because there wasn't many possibles to I go through it. So then after pass through many other course, how to say course? Sorry guys, my still a work in progress too. But
yeah, it's doing well.
I was applied to other classes, and then when I met Pivot was a little bit crazy because usually when you have to apply to a residence or to how you call that, edital de arte,
like a grant,
this
like
one,
a grant, yeah.
Present a project of exhibition, you have to explain exactly what you wanted with the work, like what you want to the work do, like what's the purpose of the work. And many of the times I don't want to like tell what the works need to do, because for me it was like construction I don't know, a body or a character, and maybe you can like it's kind of building a person. You don't say what the person can do, but you can like tell some personalities, like the person can be shy or very extroverted, and this was something that I wanted to do, because when you are creating some characters to a comics story, you just know like this character is shine or is the protagonist of the history. You just guide the character with personalities and storyline, and let the character do what they need to do. And this was my kind of thought about construction works, and it was not fitting in the project that I was applying, that I need to tell like, no, this is political because we are fighting through these points and etc. And when I entered on Pivot was pretty great, because I started to see like you don't need to justify why you are put sneakers in a chair. You just need to get like a feel about why these two things can start a conversation. Like it's about the color, it's about a shape, and then I started to release what I got in my mind, and it was like something exactly what I usually felt when I was creating characters in my comics books. So when I started to do that, I felt very natural, not suffering, because for me at the beginning was like why the artists need to suffer all the time, why we have to like creating works that involve in suffering, like I don't know why couldn't be like joyful. And there is like joyful situations in the suffer too, like I don't know, listen to, you know, when you are sad and you start to hear a sad music because you want the joy about being sad. And this was the kind of feeling that I want with my work. So here I now I think I maybe entered.
No, it was so just to put it back to the Toy Story, I think it has a lot of sense, you know, because the reason that you told me that you took Toy Story as a reference is precisely about having this kind of shared agency between something that is a deposit of affection, like a toy, like a kid has to a toy, and this toy in the film, going back to like when you say this about your sculptures, I remember well, like so I feel when I turn off the lights of my studio, they go do their things. So they play as they, and then the other day they tell me what they want to be. So I think this is a very interesting approach to do sculpture, in the sense that there is a constant negotiation with the assemblage that you make. So perhaps we can talk a little bit about, I think maybe to give a little bit of context to the audience here, like Yuli's work often put things together that maybe as what she was, how can I say that? She was not happy about in her university, that is like having very separate folders. I think your work is somehow trying to mess up with thematic folders and like to put things that shouldn't be sharing a space, or even worse, like to glue them together forever in a resin block. So perhaps you can tell a little bit about about your process, about the kind of the choices that you have, because I think by now, after a few years, I think your work was always very recognizable. So I think this is something amazing for such a young artist, that anybody can look at your work and say, this is Yuli's work. And you always had that, like when you presented your first portfolio, I was like, what the fuck, what's that? It's like, so you always like had a very unique language. And I think now you're gaining, of course, confidence with your language. You're becoming crazier. So I think this last show that we worked together in Fotos da Loja, your solo show about the works that you did in the pandemic, are a great example of this, of how I think I said something like that in the text for the show, like some sort of like a haute couture version of your fabric Frankenstein. In a way, they're getting more sophisticated. You're like experimenting more with fancier textiles together with a very ordinary leftovers from the textile industry. And I think this approach is highly political, but maybe not in political in a sense of like a one-liner, straightforward explanation of what it's like to to do something that it's more close to what is going on in the newspaper of that day. But you're talking about very pressing issues like the 24/7 consumerist society, like the deprivation of sleep. You're talking about, you can say, ecological concerns, about psychological impacts of consumer societies, and things that all of us, especially after the pandemic, are feeling in a very evident way. So maybe we can talk a little bit about this show and about these specific pieces that are this kind of lucid nightmares that you're doing with the poems and with the ikebana and the zombie ikebanas and all this and I think just to add to this very large question, which is not exactly a question, but is when you retrieved somehow in a more open way your Japanese heritage, which is always something that you come and go, and I think now it gain a little bit of a preeminence in your work. So yeah, just to throw a few. It's not a question, just a few food for thought. So we keep discussing.
Yes, I don't know. I remember like when we were talking about being political. I remember about we talking about the difference of I don't know, like maybe I spy. I think like my work is more like a spy, because when you take a work and tell what the work needs to fight with, like, no, now you're gonna fight this very bad guy. The capitalist is very bad guy, and we need to fight with it, with all our and struggle and etc. And I think when we do that, talking about my work, when I tried to do that, it was very vulnerable. How you say that word?
Vulnerable.
It's a very difficult word, and also a very but yes, I felt
very difficult feeling too. Felt vulnerable. Yeah.
I was like showing what is my soft spot, to the enemy, let's say that. Like I think when we tried to punch a knife, we got very vulnerable, and we show exactly what are our fears and what are our struggles. And I think for me, a better approach that I felt more comfortable is create some kind of spy that mimetize with what I was fighting, because I don't know, do you know this kind of the book? I just know the Brazilian translation that maybe is not the real translation, The Doctor and the Monster. The Doctor, the Monster, O Médico e o Monstro.
Ah, yeah. Sim.
Is
Mr. Jekyll and Hyde in English.
What's the name?
Jekyll and Hyde, Mr. Jekyll and Hyde.
Totally different, but
yeah.
Doctor and the Monster. But basically, it's like the monster was the same character actually, and he was fighting with who he was actually. And I think like when, I don't know, for example, enter the psychoanalysis, how to say it?
Psychoanalysis.
Thank you for the translation. We usually said when we hate something that is very like with all our heart, is because these things actually live a little bit inside of you. And I don't know, like it's crazy how we are in this kind of situation, because for example, when we got the election, can I talk about the political stuffs here? It's allowed a little bit.
Well,
yes, but it was crazy because we got this very bad president here in Brazil. And I remember when the election was running, we saw more posting about the person that we don't want to elect than the person that we want to elect. Like we got a little bit over fascinated about how disgusting this guy was. And we got very...
Do you think in a way that Bolsonaro hijacked the image making process of it? Like he was like somehow inhabiting us in a subconscious level. That is something that his image was so present that that's something through the other way around helped to elect him. No, this is what you're saying.
Like we got I don't know, addiction to see what the next shitty step that he will do with us, like and we got like...
Yes, he's a little bit of a cartoon villain himself, no? Since we're talking about cartoon villains and monsters.
Yes, and it was like some kind of oddly propaganda, but it was, and the guy is here at the power. But the thing, like back into the work, is that I prefer to create some kind of work that is work more like a spy, because, for example, the capitalism, it's shit how the capitalist is killing the world and killing ourselves, but we are also very fascinating about all the shit stuff that the capitalists give to us. Like I bought another day something that was so nothing that I needed to buy it, you know. It was crazy.
What was it?
I don't even remember. I just remember to get excited to buy it. I think it was
something you don't remember what it was?
Yeah, I think it was a very... I bought it on this app called Shine. I don't know how to say it. But it was one of these express delivery stuff that when you was like almost sleeping, you enter this and buy shit stuffs. So I remember, like, I bought it and I don't even remember. I remember maybe it was a very ugly shoes, but for I don't need it at all, but I bought it because I was
just for the excitement of buying and
exactly.
in the practicality.
It's the second time that I do that. The last time when it arrived and I didn't remember what it was, and when I opened was like perfume with a very ugly face, and the other stuff was some kind of Botox that you can do by yourself at home. And I was like, what the fuck, I bought this, but yes.
Why do you think this is happening? Like why
I think
you are somehow like a victim, and what you're doing in your work is sort of replicating this, like to show, in a way, to freeze that the kind of this excess of useless things, or the excess of things that just like somehow created to create a desire, not a necessity, or something like that. This is what you're talking about.
I don't even know how to explain, but for sure my work is very related with my therapy sections. Like everything I talk with my therapy go in some kind of way to the works, and it's crazy because I totally naked on the works. Like if someone know what I struggle with and see the work, is like, okay, maybe you are too exposed in here, but nobody knows. It's just like
so your mind must be a very crazy place if we take the imagery that you create as an index of your psychoanalytical sections. So.
Maybe I don't know other minds, but mine looks like very funny. But
so maybe since we can talk about like using this trigger of the psychoanalyst, I think what I said, that your work has a very recognizable visual output, so to say. Now I think we can say that there are some kind of symbols that became a vocabulary. Mm-hmm. For instance, the feet, the eyes, or the sausages, or like these elements that you replicate both in your wall works that mostly fabric works, or also the freestanding sculptures with wires and resin. So maybe it would be great to hear you speak about this, what became already a recurrent combination of elements that you combine, or that become a sort of a punctuation. Also something I remember seeing you say in the studio, like doing one of these very large fabric compositions. I don't remember which. You were like staying with a very serious face, looking at it, and like look at me in a very straightforward way. No, I think this guy needs a sausage. I should have, if I put a sausage here, everything will work out. And it stayed with me, like in a way that you're like staring at this canvas for a long time, like what the hell? Oh yeah, a sausage will sort it out. So it would be great to hear you speak about this kind of not only the formal compositions that are very impressive that you make, but also the entanglement of found materials, and also themes that every work in a way is an allegory. And I think you spend a lot of time struggling with that combination of memories or personal feelings, or sometimes a reference that you read from a book, or like the meditation of David Lynch, just to mention a few things that become somehow raw matter in your work, I could say.
Yes, actually it was crazy because when I started to work with fabrics, I started to work because actually my mother and my grandmother had like a store that they sold children. Oh, sorry, I'm falling. Sold like children clothes. So it was like something that I saw day by day. Maybe if they had a carpet company, maybe I work with carpet, I don't know. But the thing, it was like when I started to work with fabric, at the beginning I worked with the pattern fabric because I hadn't a vocabulary. I was like I had no idea what I was doing, so I had to start with something. So I don't know, I bought a fabric with pattern of a tree or flowers, then the work with talking about botanic, for example. But then when I got totally exhausted of it, I actually got depressed because I was like, was my first, how you call that, creative depression, something like that. And then I started to go to the gym because my therapist said like sport is good to your mental health. And then I got very addicted with sport. I was afraid if I don't go to the gym, I got depressed again. So I went every day, and then I started to check because it's a totally different word, the gym word and the art word, like the outfits, the personality, the clothes,
colorful lycra.
Yes, it was
Stretch.
totally. And then I started to check like the heels have something very sculptural, also the fabrics. And then I started to, why not work with this material that I see every day. But the thing is that to creating clothes with this kind of fabric, it's like you can't put single pattern because like the person can get like long legs or big hips, so there is no end and beginning of the patterns. So I had to create my own shape, because at the beginning with the flower patterns, I just cut the shape of the flowers and stuff it. And with these new patterns, I had, okay, let's see what is the most easy shape to create. And it was like sausage, because you just have to cut a piece of and sew it and then stuff. So the sausage was the beginning of the word. And actually the sausage do like a lot of stuff, like it can be like a finger or a penis or a snake. And so I started with this because I didn't have
and
much.
Also the red nail, the claw, yeah. The red nail claw came from the sausage also.
And something crazy was because I came from a comics background. I first do a project or a drawing, and then I started to create a 3D version of this drawing. And the thing is that I, like, for example, I have usually I had a drop on my works. There is this drop is one of those drops is on the exhibition too. It burns because actually the drop is a 3D version of the long nail. If you take like 2 nails and stuff it, it's turning a drop. So many of the shapes that I do on my work is actually some kind of free interpretations about 2D version that I created a 3D version. And it's crazy because, for example, if I do a finger in one works and then I repeat the same fingers in another work, it started to, the most you repeat image, the less it get like with some kind of signification, like it starts to be like a void that you can put any kind of stuff like
a vessel. for ideas.
Is like a new language. Like if the finger is green, means something. If the finger is yellow, it could be a corn. So many of these elements.
And the corn is also regular.
Yes, the corn actually. I think it maybe. Because I don't know, it's something that I'm very careful. Is like with the colors and the characters of my works. Like usually I prefer to use like the colors that is not related with some reality. Like I do a green hand because I want to talk about I don't know, being sad, and we can be innocent about sadness. I mean, different stuff for different people. Like if a sadness of a Black person is different from a white and straight man, so you can't talking about
generalizations, generalized stuff.
Exactly. So I want to, like, if I put like a green hand and put some kind of sadness element, like tears or rising of or sunset, something that everyone can relate it. I want to get the works more freedom to relate them with who they are talking to. Like I can't say that the work is needed to be said to all the persons, because exactly sadness is different. It's depend who you are and what you have been through. So something about that. I don't know if it makes sense.
Yeah, it does. I think it comes what I was saying, that every work is sort of it has its own inner narrative in a way that I think they are like especially the wall works, they also this you put together. I think you can see, of course, that sometimes the image they come out of the given materials that you get, like a texture or like a stain. So maybe we could give an example of I don't know, unpack a narrative. I'm thinking here about a work that I think it was sort of a watershed in your trajectory that you did during the pandemic. That was the sleeping giant that you it was it was this mix between Android, sleeping Android. I said,
no, he was born nascendo. Android nascendo.
Yeah, yeah. And what was the title in English? It's like Android getting born or something like that.
Something, but in English,
the birth of the Android. So it's like this work that you put together, this research that you've been doing for the past years with the stretched, colorful fabrics and garments from the gym vocabulary, and together with homemade shibori. So it was this very interesting contrast of like an ancient Japanese technique and this the fast speed textile industry, like of this high-tech textile industry, like the anti-sweat, the UV protective and things like that, as opposed to something that you've been doing during the confinement that was retrieving one of the most ancient techniques of dyeing fabric. So maybe you can talk a little bit about this work and the before and after, and also if you agree with me that this is a work that punctuates a sort of a transition in not in a more, I would say, your methodology of working, not than the works itself.
Yes, this work was like very special to me because I was reading this manga called Ghost in the Shell. It's about androids. The thing is about androids that they already grow up, like it's different, like about being a in that you born like a baby and then you start to grow and get memories and etc. The thing about the androids that they never know if they are androids or not, because you just know that because you needed someone to check your brain to see if he has a real brain or not. So they never know if like the memories that they have they are real ones or they are fake ones, like the things like, for example, in the history, if the industry wants to get like a policy android, how you say police android,
like a police,
police android. They put like traumatizing memories on the android, like they put some bad guys enter in his house and kill all the family. So it get like on the AI, inteligência artificial, it make the AI make the brand, the fake brand, like want to revenge. So it's gonna make android that wants to kill bad guys with a very, very effort, let's say. So all the thinking about the androids is like, please post and okay, sorry, it's not for me. The thing about android is they have like this very sadness inside them, and some kind of question about what is life, what is soul, and about fast and about life, I don't know. And when I was doing this work, something that I was looking for was it's great because this kind of fabric, the elastano, the lycra, I don't know how to say, the jean
it's like
fabric.
Something like a spandex.
No, maybe, yeah. The thing about this material is that they are very new. They just have like maybe 20 years, so they don't own a history. Like it's different, like for example velvet. It was used on magician shows, it was used by kings, it's related with realness. There is a lot of history in that, and when I use that on my works, the works get it on the backgrounds, like the person maybe don't get like related with this kind of history very immediately, but there is something that
retrieves a memory.
Exactly, like there is an old memory that don't belong to you, don't belong to this reality. And when I use the expandex fabrics, is a memory from now. Like we just remember like bikinis and jean, don't have any other one. So the digestion of the image is very fast. And when I was doing the shibori during the pandemic shutdown, I was
the lockdown,
like, I was like looking for something to entertain me, and I don't know, to get like some real stuff. So maybe it's the reason that everyone during the pandemic was doing like kombucha, homemade bread, these stuffs. And I was like, this was crazy because my husband did homemade bread and I did the shibori with this own fermented bio, etc. And when I started to return to my student, I was like, why don't I try to put it together. And I don't know, I was praised, like it started to get more slowly the digestion and get something about human touch with this, and
less synthetic.
Yes, exactly. And I think on this work specifically was something that maybe the cyborg was looking for, this kind of humanity that his fake bones and skins don't allow it to get, you know. Actually, I never, when I do a work, I never trust what I want to the work do. Like usually I just like go freestyle, like this is related with this, I don't know why, but let's put it together because I actually trust
they tell you what they want to be.
Yes, exactly. I don't know, it's some kind of witch stuff, but actually I trust much more my subconscious than my conscience, because my conscience wants to get the control. And I think what I will not say about the word, but what I want now is like lose the control, you know, about because I don't know, so far we are trying to control what is going to happen here, and don't looks like it's working. So I think like I want
big time.
Yes, I want to lose a little bit the control.
Yeah, and maybe reason. Yeah. Western reason.
Yes.
I think we don't have any questions. It's almost 3. No, nobody's asking us questions really, so I'm gonna keep asking you questions because the audience is shy. But yeah, because I think this is also an important point to talk about somehow, and I think you started from that point of thinking the art should something to a certain way. This is a result, of course, of the way that art is taught, and still like here in Brazil, like in a very westernized way. No, so I think in a way, we have a question. Let me see if I can amend. Yuli, do you think the language of comments can reach a broader audience? And this is important to you. So I think I can put the two questions together, like thinking about like you sometimes use art history in a way, Western art history in a non-hierarchical way. You put it in the same level as comics or dreams or memories, and sometimes can, for instance, you can use like a hokusai print and put it together with something that you bought in the market, and this can go towards the direction of the comic book. So it would be nice if you could expand on this and also answer the question of reaching a broader audience with your imagery, that it's more related to comics.
I don't know if I understand the question. Can you tell me in Portuguese? Sorry.
Se você escolhendo a linguagem dos quadrinhos, se você acha que isso pode achar um público maior, talvez, que o público das artes, e se isso te importa, né? Chegar num público que não é só um público de arte. Os quadrinhos são mais acessíveis, talvez.
I don't know, like actually I don't know if I think a little bit too much about it, because usually when I don't know, when you thinking about okay, this one is for you, the person maybe reject it, so it's very frustrated. So, but one thing that I very careful, it's how I deliver it. Like, I don't know, I work in museum many years, like I think 5 years in the educational space.
Yeah, no, in the education department. Yes, you were an educator in the shows. Yeah.
Yeah, so usually I did the tour with the public there. So I heard many questions about what was I don't know, because it was crazy because many of the public is either me when I started to study art. I thought this is not for me. This is too intelligent, too high level. I'm very from another world. The art world is too intelligent. I don't know. I put it in a pedestal, and when I was there, I saw like I could relate what I was seeing with anything on my mind, because if when the work is done, it will relate it with the environment as well we are. So we can talking about comics, or we can talk about fashion design. It will be always related with what the public, the audience is checking. Like many of the persons who write into me asking to talking about my work, they don't really read the comics books, and I started to talking about other stuff. So I think it's just like something that is more about my background than what I wanted to deliver to the public. Maybe just something that is very important to me is because the comics give me a lot of freedom to talk with funny ways, like when you put some
freedom, a certain freedom that you can mix weird things, no?
Yes, and give you a little bit more funny, like funny mood. How you say that? Engraçado, with like comical mood.
It had like a comical mood, or like to have a sort of a playfulness.
Yes, and and I think like when something make you laugh, it's breaking a wall between you, the work, and the public, because the work starts to don't look very serious, like judging you. And when the work don't judging the person, you can relate better with it. So maybe the comics part is important to me to break this kind of serious contemporary art wall. I don't know if it's very clear, but I think it's I hate when I think like the work is judging me, like think it's more I think it's more intelligent thing, or like want to give me a lesson, like you're
to preach something. We have a few more questions, and the time is running low, so let's see. There's a question in Portuguese for you. You want me to read, or you read it? Você falou sobre as diferentes tristezas. De cada pessoa. Eu queria entender melhor como isso seleciona com o seu uso de cores, se relaciona com o seu uso de cores que não achamos na natureza.
Eu falo em português, então responda em português?
Maybe in English, because we're doing everything in English, so they don't need to subtitle.
I think it's like more, if I put in my work, for example, I usually don't put faces on my work, because when you put faces, you're talking about a specific face, like, this is a character. So you can't relate with it, because maybe the shape of the nose is different, the shape of the eyes is different from you, etc. And I want like to create more ways to the people can connect with. Is the same reason is that I use like this different kind of colors, like purple or green, because I just put it in a situation. For example, I have a wall work that is a arm decepado.
Severed.
Severed é decepado?
É.
How you say it again?
Severed arm. Cut out.
Yes, cut out arm. Smashed with a wall. The arm is purple, I think. And if I put in, I don't know, I chose like a white skin for this situation. I don't know, people can relate in World Trade Center, something like this, like some kind of memory that white people related with the pen, like global pen, dor. Or if I choose like yellow skin, it related with another kind of situation that have these stuffs happen. If I relate them with a black skin, another stuff. So like if I put, for example, a green skin, like anyone can relate it with the pen they own. You understand? I don't know if you're very clear with that, but like I like it to create a situation like, for example, this thing with the arm, like is a wall smashing a cutted arm. Like how it's happened? Why? What will happen next to it? I don't know. The person is free to, I don't know, to imagine what happened to it get in this situation, because usually what I put on my work is like the middle of something that is happened and the end, like it's the middle of the beginning and the end. It's like something like the arm being cut and oyster being open is the middle, exactly the middle, because the middle is like
the middle of an action, you mean? Or
yes,
a situation.
Yes, exactly, because it's like the present is happened, so we don't know. It can go to many other ways, like because I don't know. I read a test about talking about past is actually how we will create in the future. Like for example, in many schools in Brazil, they teaching the kids about 64 revolution, like 64 revolution, and not how you said golpe de estado.
Not a coup d'etat, like the dictatorship.
Exactly. So how you describe the past is will run the future. So this is very important. Like the past and the future is always cognate, is always open to free interpretation, but the present is the only thing that we can talking about. So it is one of the reasons that I usually choose exactly to represent just the middle of the action, and the middle of the action could be like a black skin in a yellow skin. We never know. It's something about that.
Movement. We have a few more questions. Let's see. I'd love to know how you approach to accessibility to art through your practice. That's for me, in between two very different but complementary contexts. Very different but complementary in a way that's like from a curator perspective or an artist perspective, or what context. But I can say this briefly, that I think this is like this kind of concern about reaching audiences and the work, how the work can be mediated should, of course, always be a concern of a curator and an institution director, and not and an artist. They can be excused from that from time to time, but in my position, I think a curator can never, so I think my job is to do this sort of mediation between Yuli's very rich visual mental vocabulary that she should create in her own terms, and how we can make this in a way to reach people from very different backgrounds. And I think this is a work that is the job of somebody that is exhibiting the work and working together with artists. So whenever I work as a programmer or a curator, I always try to think about the context I am in, and like what is like to show Yuli's work, for instance, in Brazil and in Norway has a very different reception. So I think a work by Yuli that has this kind of fragmented body situations can be read in a way by somebody that has a Western art history repertoire in a very privileged context. And also, if you, a school kid in Brazil, look at this work, the approach is very different. So I think a complex work of art, as the work we're talking about here, allows for many entry points, and is something that is it has that amount of layers that you can create a connection if you know about the history of pop art, and if you know about maybe what she's addressing in a way as a critique to a certain living under the late capitalist moment, but also can be a very playful way to create a starting point for a conversation with a kid that's going to look like, what the hell is this ice coming out of a pond, and the score. And so what I think is very interesting, not only in Yuli's work, but in my way, the kind of work that I'm interested in is works that allow for this, for starting points of conversations with people from very different contexts, and also more or less familiarity with the so-called vocabulary of contemporary art. So I think this is something very important. As I'm also agree with Yuli that I don't like works that preach to me and they tell me what I should think. I like works that point out towards direction that we complement. So I think is something very important when we think about mediation, which is the level of didactics that a work should convey, and which I think is a very long discussion and a very interesting and important one right now. What else? Do you believe curating can be a form of activism? Yes, I think so. And also art making, as I think curating or doing art is a way to respond and a way to question and to create critical content about pressing issues. And I think you cannot compare, for instance, a work a curatorial perspective can convey and people that are going to the trenches or the barricades or in the streets. I think it's something that is quite, in my opinion, quite complementary, because I think art has a slower pace in a sense that is like its effectiveness is a long term. So maybe something that Yuli is doing now, a lot of people don't get it, but the new generation, for instance, that was like already digital born, very familiar with the language of comics and gaming, can completely experiment for work in a different way, and also to access a sort of semantics that an analogical brain not have. So I don't know. So I think it's something that the kind of work that we do is something that is meant to last, and sometimes the fruition is not immediate. And I think this is an important place to be secured. So sometimes it's not as effective as going to the battlefield, but I think the both things are very needed and somehow feed each other.
Yeah, I think like the war, like say, need like soldiers and spies. We
yes,
need like
it's a very good way to put it. Strategists and soldiers.
Yeah, like we need everything we can put.
I think maybe we do the last one now. that you mentioned international exhibitions. How do you think your work is viewed in different countries? Do different cultures connect more with different teams? So did you feel any difference in the reception that your work got in different countries? How do you feel about that, Yuli?
Yes, a little bit actually, because it's crazy how the image in Brazil is outside. Like usually people see my works like, oh, colorful, playful, and then they start to see the chopping arms and the blood fingers, and they like, oh, why? But what I've seen is like this first approach and about colorful and happiness of being Brazilian, and then
the tropical extravaganza, no?
Yes, the tropical guns. But something like that, it's crazy. But I think it's actually works like also I spy, because when what I'm seeing outside is like people first get very open to my work because it's colorful, and then they realize actually it's maybe violent or disgusting, or I don't know, be moved or something like this. It's very nice to get
So
these.
you think somehow like the colors are like a bait? You know what a bait is? Like a trigger or a bait or something, like a magnet, and then you deliver maybe less easy to consume content.
Yes, and it's crazy because it is a bait, and actually in the opposite too, because there was many people that got to me and get like very punched, like, yeah, and what is this here? And like if I was being ironic to something, in something that I hate, and most of the word is being ironic, like the work is totally me. I will never be
it's not a cynical, maybe. So
yes, cynical is the word. And but for me it's very crazy to see this both opposite first interpretation about my work, like to be funny and happiness, or to be cynical. And then people, when they started to open or not, they give me very new, I don't know, very new opinions, because actually it was crazy. And here in Brazil, it took a little bit time to people get open to my work. Actually, I think like people start to be more open outside, and then here after.
Yeah.
But yeah, we are.
Yeah, that's a nice way to wrap it. Like, what?
Working in progress.
Work in progress. So I think we're reaching our time here. As always, it's no.
Yes, thank you so much. It's been wonderful listening to you both. Thank you, and we hope to see you very soon again. And
thank you. It was amazing.
You. It was a pleasure.
It was great to hear to both perspectives. Thanks. So well, we are going to, next week we have another talk with South and Bajo el Sol, between Naama Tzabar and Mateo Lopez. So I hope you all can join us again. Take care. Bye.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Have a nice day. Ciao.
Ciao.